He was drafted for compulsory military service, sent straight to the front, and immediately assigned to the assault troops. This is happening more and more often to young Russians, because conscripts are an inexhaustible resource for replenishing the assault units of the Russian army. Right now, we're going to tell you about the criminal schemes used to lure young people into the war. Let's watch.
The Kremlin has found a goldmine for replenishing its expendable assault troops, and now they can inject fresh blood into the front not just twice a year, but all 12 months. After all, we're talking about an inexhaustible human resource drawn from conscripts. In almost 4 years of full-scale invasion, Russian conscripts have repeatedly appeared in the reports of both the living and the dead. At least 37 conscripts called up for military service were killed during fighting in the Kursk region. After that, even Putin himself no longer hid their participation in the war.
I recently had a conversation with the commander of a battalion who fought right there in the Belgorod direction. I asked him a specific question. Exactly how many of your men are mobilized soldiers, and how many of them are young conscripts? He looked at me and said, "The truth is, they are all conscripts."
But lately, Russian conscripts have been sent to war in droves. Through deception, torture, and abuse, 18-year-old boys are forced to sign contracts. If before these were isolated incidents, now this forced voluntary recruitment has become a mass operation. One of the most striking examples of mass transformation from conscripts to contract soldiers happened right on the train carrying new recruits from the Urals to Primorsky Krai. In the 7 days of travel, before even reaching their unit, half of the 300 men agreed to sign contracts. However, later on, they admitted to the methods their commanders used to persuade them.
They forced me to sign the contract, threatening my health both morally and physically. For every refusal, they made us do endless squats and painfully twisted our arms. Unable to endure this relentless physical abuse, I finally signed the contract while lying helplessly on the floor.
For every refusal, we had to do 50 squats while being humiliated and threatened about our health. At that time, we were already feeling quite unwell, with both a fever and high blood pressure. But despite this, they continued to pressure us. For 3 consecutive days, they would come at night and also consistently make us exercise. They forced us to stand on duty for 8 hours at a time without rest. I simply could not take it anymore and ended up signing the legal contract without my voluntary consent. I signed it on the cold morning of December 12, 2025. There was also no boiled drinking water provided in the train car. There was only scalding hot water available for us to use.
The most active in the forced train car was Junior Lieutenant Karitonov. In a fit of aggression, the newly minted contract soldier admits the officer could even bite under pressure.
The junior Lieutenant Karitonov explained in detail that he had a certain plan given to him by his superior officers, and that he was required to recruit a minimum of at least 30% of the contract soldiers from the train car. Because everyone there refused, he would constantly swear, show aggression, humiliate, often insult and offend me, specifically targeting my nationality and my appearance.
Lawyers acknowledge that an incredible number of complaints are pouring into them from all corners of Russia, both from conscripts themselves and their relatives. Once inside the walls of a military unit in Russia, no one can guarantee that you won't be sent to war.
It's as if the officers in the units are competing in sadism. On Sakhalin, in the military unit designated as 3498, Senior Lieutenant Anton Svirin began organizing what he called a survival lottery. 9 conscripts were lined up on the parade ground and told one of the recruits must sign a contract. There were no volunteers, so they started pressuring the conscripts. They were forced to do exhausting physical exercises until someone agreed. When that didn't work either, the guys were made to draw lots. Whoever drew the contract with the signature would be the one sent to the special military operation. Whose signature it was is unknown.
And just recently, lawyers found confirmation in a decision by a Russian court. The recruitment of conscripts for the war is being carried out by direct order from the command of the Russian armed forces.
In its decision, the court disclosed the specific mechanism for persuading conscripts to sign contracts and made direct reference to a telegram from the current acting chief of staff of the Central Military District. In accordance with the official instructions provided in the telegram from the acting chief of staff of the Central Military District, in order to properly organize the targeted selection of candidates for military service under contract from among the conscripts at the assembly points of the constituent entities of the Russian Federation, it is required to formally designate specialized propaganda and recruitment groups and subsequently dispatch these personnel to the assembly points. to select candidates for contract military service from among the eligible citizens who are currently subject to the military conscription process.
And naturally, the closer you get to the actual front line of combat, the less the commanders care about the overall age and experience of the recruits.
Military personnel, those who are experienced and have been in Ukraine for a long time, say that indeed this year, towards the end of the year, they started bringing in more conscripts, meaning conscripts who have been turned into contract soldiers. And I also inquired if they get any leniency, specific concessions, or professional training. They say no, it's straight to the assault here. They really don't even know yet how they can refuse or how to buy themselves some time. They are sent straight into combat missions. And then, quoting them, they say they're dying by the hundreds. Well, I can't vouch for the numbers here.
There is a personnel shortage. It can no longer be covered by either convicts or mercenaries, whom the Russians are scooping up from the poorest corners of the world. So the only thing you can wish for citizens of conscription age is to hide from the draft officers as thoroughly as possible.